What's up, Husky fans? I'm Kirsten Kroll here, back on set for your weekend warm-up. And let's get things started by taking a look at hockey. Heading onto the ice, the St. Cloud women's team hosted their in-state rival, Minnesota Duluth. The Bulldogs got things started real quick as Sydney Broke put one to the back of the net just 9 seconds into the game. The Huskies would respond with a pair of first-period goals of their own. First, Hallie Theodosopoulos tips in a shot from Abby Thiessen to make it a 1-1 game. Later, Olivia Savard would knock the puck off a defender's skate for the score. Minnesota Duluth would add another goal before the first period ended. After that, the scoring would come to a halt as the game would go into the books as a tie. The Bulldogs would come away with the extra point with a goal in 3-on-3 overtime. On Saturday, the Huskies looked to rebound on senior night. Olivia Savard would net a power play goal at about the halfway point in the first period, and Klara Himlerova would find the net in the third period, but the Huskies would still fall 2-6. The big story of this game, however, though, was the return of senior captain Janine Alder. Alder returned to the net with 5:45 left in the game and racked up 6 saves before the final buzzer went off. Alder missed a majority of the season dealing with a head injury. This weekend, Huskies basketball headed west for a pair of games versus Northern State and Minnesota Moorhead. On the men's side of the ball, the Northern State Wolves led the NSIC entering the weekend and showed the Huskies why as they took a lead early and kept their foot on the gas all night long. The Huskies were led by Caleb Donaldson with 19 points as they fell 88-71 in Aberdeen. Game 2 versus the Dragons was back and forth the whole way through as Trayvon Marshall broke out for 25 points and Donaldson added 19 for the second straight game. The ballgame came down to the final bucket as the Dragons scored with just under 2 seconds to go and held on for an 80-78 win at home. The women's team took their shot at Northern State and Moorhead this weekend too, and let's just say they showed the boys how it's done. Game 1, they drained bucket after bucket in the first quarter to take a 27-15 lead that they would not let up. Nikki Kilbottom led the team with 18 points in the 68-60 win. Game 2 would test the Huskies' perfect January record of 7-0 in Moorhead. The Dragons' high-rated defense started out holding the Dogs to only 12 in the first quarter, but Saturday the Huskies decided the second quarter would be better to put up big numbers as they scored 24 heading to halftime. Madeline Dahman carried the offense to close out the game and led the team with 23 points in 35 minutes as the Huskies won versus Moorhead for the first time since 2015. The women's Nordic Ski team headed to Cable, Wisconsin to compete in the Berkey State Classic on Saturday. St. Cloud would place 2 in the top 20 in the 135K freestyle, with Jamie Harridge placing 16th with a time of 3:43 and Sharisa Booley placing 5th with a time of 3:29. On Sunday, Sharisa Booley would crack the top 30 in the 10K Classic with a time of 41 minutes and 28 seconds, placing 29th. In the first meet of 2020, the women's track and field team started the second half on the right foot at the Beaver Invite. Thanks to the performances of a handful of athletes, the squad finished second overall with 164 total points. Some of the highlights from the meet came from Clara Wellhouse and Cassie Todd, who placed first in the distance medley relay with a time of 13:26.90. The other relay team of Bridget Brown, Leighton Fisher, Michaela Rice, and Carla Inkarashan finished first in the 4x400 with their time of 4:07.53. Taking a look at this upcoming weekend, wrestling will host a home meet in Piers, Minnesota this Thursday as they take on Minnesota State University Moorhead. Then they'll head to Mankato to take on the Minnesota State Mavericks. Women's track and field will be a part of the Shuck Multi and Open in Mankato, Minnesota, and the Jack Johnson Classic in Minneapolis, Minnesota on Friday and Saturday. Women's Nordic Ski will compete in the CCSA Kavak Trails in Rylander, Wisconsin on Saturday and Sunday. Men's and women's basketball will travel to Upper Iowa on Friday and then head back north for games against Winona State. Women's tennis will head up to Grand Forks, North Dakota for a matchup against Bemidji State. Women's hockey travels east to face WCHA rival, the University of Wisconsin. And finally, the men's hockey team will host NCHC rival, Miami University of Ohio. That's going to do it for this week's Weekend Warmup. We'll see you back here next week, Husky Nation.